In this assessment, Umami Mermaids will be analysed and critiqued in regards to its effectiveness as a piece of radical theatre. This will be evaluated through the principles of post-dramatic theatre, intermediality, and intersectionality. To begin, there are a number of ways Umami Mermaids embodies elements of post-dramatic theatre. Most notably, it has a very clear performative aesthetic. The vast majority of the performance is delivered directly to the audience. The fourth wall is broken completely. The stories of the mermaids are told to the audience as cautionary tales, with no real overarching plot between the characters on stage, and it's unclear whether the stories being told are fiction or not. This plays into the ambiguity of the performance, which flags it as a post-dramatic work. The characters, the setting, and the time are all unclear to the audience. While it is clear that the set is sometime in the future, and the characters have some kind of relationship, none of this information is expanded upon explicitly. By the end of the performance, the audience can theorize about these aspects, but it will always be up for debate. This is a hallmark of post-dramatic theatre, an open ending in which viewers can take away their interpretation of a piece, but others may take away something completely different. Next up, intermediality. This is where the performance seemed to struggle the most. Puppetry being the only art form other than theatre which is important to the performance. The puppets are used to play out the stories being told, but only in a minimal way. Most of the action in the stories is described to the audience by the leading woman. The puppets are more supplementary to the story, rather than vital, with only the crux of each story being shown through the puppets. This is an effective method of incorporating intermediality, certainly more interesting than simply using a projector. However, the use of other art forms or technology could bring another level of depth to this performance. Arguably, the use of the blackboard to write the titles of each story could be considered intermedial, though it adds little to the performance except for character interaction. Perhaps something like film to create the feeling of a putrid, radioactive bog, though this risks diminishing the effectiveness of the post-traumatic elements by creating too much of the setting. Finally, Umami Mermaids is a good example of an intersectional work, as it intertwines issues regarding gender and the environment. It is no accident that in the performance, each of the mermaids, mutant, frigid, and barren, are all powerful female figures, and each of them represents both an environmental issue and a women's issue. For example, the story of the barren mermaid takes place in a desolate wasteland, in which a male sword swallower representing toxic masculinity and the fragile male ego feels outshined by a female tightrope walker. Instead of simply being content, he abuses her and attempts to impregnate her every night, and when she fails to fall pregnant, he abuses her further. Simply by the name of the story, there is a clear link between the land, their relationship, and the lack of a child. It's quite on the nose, however, the form lends itself to this. This is the case for all three stories told. Each environment represents a way humanity is destroying the earth, and each man represents an issue women must overcome, and each mermaid represents the frustrations women feel. And all these are tied together through the magic of metaphor, and there is an overarching theme which points out that the earth is attributed to the weaker sex, and that makes it okay to pollute it in the eyes of man. This intersectional view is played to great effect in Umami Mermaids, and was done in a fun, interesting way. And it doesn't overstep its mark. It has two clear issues that are faced in society today, addresses them thoroughly, instead of trying to comment on every issue they could squeeze in. To conclude, Umami Mermaids is a great example of a piece of radical theatre due to its use of post-traumatic elements, intermediality, and intersectionality. While some of these aspects could have been done to greater effect, this piece serves as an example for those who want to create their own radical theatre works, especially in regards to intersectionality. Thank you.